an adult. So, I mean, I don't go to bed at 6:30.
Right.
So
2:30 in the
morning.
morning.
What we're going to do is we're going to drag our feet like we normally do because that's how we work at this thing. So
I'm glad I came today.
Yeah, so we're missing somebody right now. So while we're waiting for someone in the farthest away ever.
Is it the farthest away ever? Oh, for the show, maybe. Yeah, okay. And it's going.
I just shut something off. So I have to now remember where I put this dumb thing. Mayako.
Thanks, Rob.
Welcome, everybody.
Yes, welcome.
We got our first special guest is Jeff. Yeah. So
yeah,
Jeff is our special guest this week, wherever he feels to show up, he shows up.
Well, I think I told you in the email. I think probably instead of me emailing you every week that I don't want to do it, I'll just commit to something more like bi-weekly.
Great. So that's Jeff's commitment. That's always great. I got something queued up here because all right, guess Joe showed up.
Did he show up? All right.
Yeah. We're gonna call him Joseph. He's not JQ anymore.
Well,
maybe I should change my name there.
He's still JQ.
Well, I don't know. I watched your video. I don't know what to call you anymore. It's kind of like low C TLR, team low C, team racing, whatever the F it is. We were just discussing our special guest, Jeff, who is part of the show, is never on it, so he's a special guest. And you're the farthest person away from us we've ever had. Congratulations. I'm sure you could put that in your IMDb now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go do that right now, quick.
Yeah. And I don't understand. I guess I got a new webcam because Jeff is at 4 DPI and Joe looks like he's in a professional studio.
Where am I?
Don't know.
By the way, maybe I should
straighten this
out
out of an 80s commercial.
I'm on my laptop webcam, whatever that is, so it's not that good, I'm sure. It's the same one I'm always on.
So I didn't really have an intro other than so first I'm gonna make fun of Joe because he thought we were like organized. Like he's like, "What's the show about?" I'm like, "You," and he's like, "No, don't talk about me."
Well, you are tonight.
Yeah.
Also,
so this is the world exclusive of Joe talking about himself.
I almost missed the show though, because luckily I happened to see that you sent me an invite. So then I wonder, well, he's early. So then I just, I'm always late. So I messaged you making sure, is it in 50 minutes or 1 hour, 15 minutes? Because I was sure it was 1 hour and 15 minutes.
No, well, you guys don't have daylight savings time, so I'm sure that screwed something up. But
something happened.
Yeah. We skip hours around here. We're so ahead of the times.
But we do too. I mean, we have winter time now.
Oh.
So, I don't know.
Well, we're into summertime already. We just changed an hour ahead. So
that's why then.
Yeah. For those joining us who don't know Joe, we will get into who Joe is. But let's watch. I don't know. Do I start with this new venture video that I queued up that I don't know if the sound's going to work, but you don't need it?
Let's do that later. Let's start from the beginning.
Let's not jump into things.
Yeah, let's try and start in the beginning somewhere.
Build up.
Let me tell you, because I always like to tell people how I know people, and I'm sure Joe remembers our long history of meeting each other 3-4 times. But our first interaction was when Joe was working out a lot, taking a lot of steroids, and the Worlds in South Africa was canceled. And Joe said we're all a bunch of pussies because we were scared.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It was on Starting Grid, the world's most technologically advanced Atari game. And I was supposed to go to that race, to be honest with you, and then they canceled. What happened? Oh, was it 9/11?
No, I think it was the Indonesia Worlds.
Yeah, that was Indonesia, right?
No. Actually, I think when
it was 2 phases.
Yeah, that's South Africa was 9/11, but I don't think I was very vocal about that. Maybe a bit, but not really. But then Indonesia Worlds, I was really vocal about that one.
Yes. And now, as someone who has owned a company and wasted a shitload of money traveling around the world to try to sell 6 cars or 10 cars or 1,000, do you think traveling to third world countries is still a good idea for RC?
Well, I think my beef with the whole subject then wasn't is it good for the brands? It's more so that people were saying that it's not safe. That was my problem with it. Like, oh, we're scared to go. No, I can understand companies not wanting to pay to go, but I couldn't understand people being afraid to go. Because let's face it, the people in Indonesia racing RC cars, same kind of people as everywhere else. There was no need to be, well, maybe a few. No, but seriously, there was no need to be afraid of going. You know, it was a good time.
Yeah, we will point out that Jakarta Worlds did have armed guards, right? It's like
the compound did, yeah.
Yeah,
it was like Disney World.
Nice. Yeah,
it's every third world country has that. Developing country has that. America's heading in that direction real fast. So laugh while you can.
Oh wait, there's less Americans on this show than other countries right now. I just realized. Yeah.
That's what's wrong with the world.
We can have some fun bashing you guys right now.
I'm not American. I deported myself. So that was our history of starting, and then we didn't actually meet until I think it was in North Carolina. We went to, I think we were at Worlds in North Carolina. I think that's the first time we face-to-face met. And if anybody doesn't follow Joe, or he quit Facebook, which is another topic coming up. Joe's very vocal, smart, antagonistic on purpose, I think. I don't think he does it out of not knowing he isn't. So sometimes some people always want to beat him up on when they meet him. I did not. I don't really care. I'm an asshole too. We met in North Carolina. We had a beer, and then I realized Joe was just Finnish.
Just Finnish.
It's a different delivery of humor and vocal tone. That's all. And he's the same humor as the rest of us, but just opinionated like everybody. We all have a big asshole, so everyone's got one. And from then on, I've followed Joe, and I watch most of his stuff. All I do had to catch up on what was happening because he did quit Facebook, and I didn't really. I don't get YouTube alerts, so he had a lot of stuff going on in the past couple years. So let's get to the beginning first. Joe started you started racing RC cars, correct? Give me the quick 5-minute.
Like very early. Yeah. Okay. Well, I started racing quite late, actually. I was 16, I think, when I started. I kind of got interested at 14 or so, but I was playing ice hockey, and all my money was going towards that. So I didn't really have the money to buy a car or anything. But I was reading the magazines already, so I was already into it. So then a couple of years later, I quit playing ice hockey, got myself an RC car, and then I was hooked ever since then. And that was the very beginning. And I think I've always been very competitive. So I never picked it up as just a sort of a fun thing to do. I picked it up as something like, okay, so I'm going to be world champion, basically. Like that was my... that was my thinking. Like I didn't realize Cavalieri was world champion at 17, and I was trying to learn how to drive around the track at that point. So I did realize it was going to be an uphill battle, but I take
it you already were like the world champion of hockey, and that's why you moved to RC.
No, actually, in hockey it's really competitive, and the reason I quit was that. Even there, I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to be in the NHL or whatever. Like, this is going to be it for me. But I realized it wasn't going to happen. It's quite expensive to do, and you need to really have a passion for it. My parents weren't really into it, like supporting me 100% to do it. And I wasn't into it 100%. So I figured, you know what? I'm not going to make it. I need to find something else. I need to find something I can do on my own and make it. And then RC came along, and I didn't make it, but I tried.
Wow.
Well, you won. Aren't you the Finnish national champion of 2009?
I mean, I'm a Nordic champion.
Nordic champion. No dick or Nordic?
No, Nordic, Scandinavian countries. I won that and Finnish championships, Euros, mains. I never made a world's main. That really annoys me. Every time something's gone wrong. But yeah, it's been fun.
And then somewhere along the line, Joe decided that he didn't want to race for somebody, so you decided to start an RC company. It's like timeline shortened a couple of years on that one, but pretty quick, to be honest. You from 16 to when did you decide this was a good idea?
24. So, yeah. I mean, I was a bit too ambitious, I guess. So, I actually, my plan was this. My plan was, okay, so I realized at 24, okay, I'm not Ryan Mayfield. I'm not exactly really talented at racing. I'm decent. I can do well. I was actually sort of semi-professional. I was studying engineering and racing on the side and getting paid to race and flying around the world. So I wasn't completely shit.
Right.
But I knew that this wouldn't be something that I could do as a full-time job for very long, at least. Only while I studied, basically. I wasn't going to be consistently winning big races. I could tell. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and get a job in the industry where I can still race. Because that's what I really want to do. I really want to race and be competitive, but I need an income. I don't want some shitty job that I don't enjoy. I don't want to risk ending up in some dead-end job that I hate. So genius idea. I'm going to get a job in the industry. Now, that proved to be really difficult because I was just some nobody from Finland, and I couldn't find any job. And then a few years later, still nothing. I designed my own car, still nothing. Then when I actually had designed a complete car, I tried to get it made by different manufacturers, pitching the idea like, hey, I have this car design. And I mean, looking back, I'm a bit surprised that no company even looked at the situation, just like, okay, here's this guy, he's pretty fast. He clearly has the drive to do something. He designed his own car. Like
this is the one with the small diff, right? The one with the small diff?
Yeah, the very first, yeah. So I'm surprised that no one looked at that and just went like, this village idiot from Finland, done pretty well at these races, sponsored driver, designed his own car, clearly has like a crazy drive to do something. Like, let's hire this guy. Like, he might be good for us. Like, no one. I couldn't, like, now thinking back, I'm kind of surprised. But yeah, anyway.
Did you contact like the manufacturers who were already making vehicles? Like, did you contact like Honor type or like Associated type?
all different kinds of manufacturers. And I even for 2 separate years I worked with some companies. So first time it was Himoto, it was called. Well, that was a clusterfuck. Nothing happened. Then following year, Ishima. They had a car, and then they were supposed to make the next version would be one I designed. That never happened. So 2 years of trying, failing. And then I went, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. So that was when I was 24.
That's a pretty big set of balls, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I don't know if you had any business background before that. It was probably why you did it, that you didn't know what it would take to do.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Actually,
it's a big undertaking, right, for your first business in the industry.
The fact that I didn't really know how much work it was and what it would take to do was probably the reason that I did it, because I didn't know. My plan was this is what I was trying to say like 5 minutes ago. My plan was that it would take 2 years. So I'd start this, I'd make the car, and then 2 years later, I would have the car and the company, and the car would be good, and I'd be back to sort of focusing on racing. Now it's like 10 years later, and that day has still not come. Maybe now, finally, but
now you're old.
My original goal. Yeah, exactly. So now I'm too old. But hey, there's no too old. It's RC cars.
Youth always wins.
Yeah,
but
not always. But there's a huge advantage to youth, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's more of a mental advantage. You don't have to really worry about anything else.
No, but the science says it's more than just mental. Mental would be a huge end. But listen, we slow down with age. The shit doesn't work as well. All of it.
But not at this age, I think.
No, okay. Right. Well, I think it's not a cliff. I think it's a discharge curve. But yeah, right. That's fair. That's fine.
Yeah, 40 you can't see anymore. So you got a couple years left. I think it's a good, I think it's a good lesson for most people to. Joe already has glasses, so I mean, he already had a visual cliff.
Yeah.
But I think everybody should try to work for themselves once to realize how difficult it is, and especially, I mean, I can use me as an example. We had a magazine where we had a team of 12, and then when first set of magazines went out of business, we made the same size magazine with 3 people, and then you have to do everything else that you didn't do before, nor realize.
Or
like
don't do it.
Money and pay people and the shit that you don't realize that really happens in an industry. That's why at this point you're probably 10 times more valuable than you were when you just designed a car because you're crazy. That I would say maybe contributed to why the next part we'll talk about in a little bit happened. I'm assuming. I don't really know. You didn't really go over it.
Looking back. Many times in my life, actually, the thing that I've wanted to happen hasn't happened. Then I've done something else, and then I look back and I'm like, "Oh, thank God that didn't happen." Like, so this was one of those things where I'm actually really happy that no one did hire me, and it didn't work out with those 2 companies, because that forced me to do it myself, and that was the right thing to do. But the only way I would do it was this way, where it was my only choice. And yeah, I'm glad that it worked out that way.
Well, I mean, you obviously have to do everything when you're designing, and I'm sure people here know some of the story of what's actually happened. And you mentioned, master of nothing, which when I was refreshing myself with you on the video today, is what I was saying is that you went from a driver to a designer to a team manager to parts distribution to quality control and everything, that eventually you can't do anything. And I think that's also a learning lesson when you try to do things on your own, why you have to hire more than one person. I don't know how many people you had working for you. Most of the time I assumed it was you and some other Jeff behind the scenes, a legal Canadian. I'm legal.
Yeah, the problem with my company has always been that I have wanted to do it in a certain way, and that way is to be very free. So not to be tied to a location, to be able to work from wherever, have a very sort of lean setup, and also to not do things that I don't really enjoy myself. So not to go into, all these different entry-level cars and toys and ready-to-runs and distribution of this and that. So I want to sort of focus on the racing only. And that's quite difficult to do because the racing market is so small.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate model because the RTR is what often funds the racing end of it.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case, but I mean...
No, it was always the case.
Well, I don't think when you look
they
back
just weren't
on
called
RCGP or anything like that, or Mugen, who had never had an ready to run.
Mugen's a bad example, but Kyosho, when they were winning the worlds for a decade.
It's a bad example for your point, Tommy. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's a bad example.
But for my point, it's a valid point, idiot.
So all the big companies that do well in racing, other than say Serpent and Mugen, like the pure race companies, all the other ones have a big line of beginner cars and RTR types. That's where the money. We know that's where the money comes from.
Yeah, now they do, but didn't Losi back in the day just make racing stuff and they killed it?
And right, that's a good example in the 80s.
Don't bring up examples of Jeff. You just want to accept them.
No, I just freaking accepted it live on air. I just accepted it.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's
But
kind
Losi
of
doesn't have that formula now, that's for sure. But anyways, yeah,
no,
right.
no. It doesn't really work now as well. Well, maybe this new thing will work that way, but I haven't really wanted to go down that route. So that's, in some ways, it's sort of held me back a bit.
Here's my question, because
still here though.
I thought about some of the things you were saying today, and obviously we've discussed this over beer and burgers. We all think there's a better way of doing something until we realize that maybe the machine is in place, because no matter how hard we try, it can't get to that point. You know what I mean? RC isn't going to be a spectator sport where you get chicks and $1 million salaries. And I get that we're unhappy because it's not, but I mean, it's sort of bigger than most people understood, with how big the companies are and how much money is actually made at this. I mean, but now we still want it to be something bigger. And maybe, I believe me, I'm a grass is always greener guy too, but isn't there a point where it's like, hey, I want it to be this, but I have to understand that it can't be. It's like, you can't make a cat a dog. I want my cat to be a dog. Don't you think there's something to that of looking at it? If you go too far to one side, you're never going to hit your goal. You're never going to be satisfied. You're going to have this, I'm not going to, I need to be a racing only team, when that's not the model to get there. You know what I mean? To get there at this point is to have to do the steps that make you money to be able to do it. Ferrari doesn't race Formula One because they don't sell cars. You know what I mean? You got to look at it that way.
Yeah, I understand. What you mean, but the way I see it is I have actually tried all kinds of different things and sort of still tried to focus on racing and make the company work well by just doing the racing things. And now, for example, this whole Invisible Speed book that I wrote, and I'm also working on an online course for RC. It's also, and the free YouTube videos I make, it's also focused on racing, and it's something it's not, I wouldn't say that it's easy, but it sort of supports my work in racing and designing also, because even writing the book, I was forced to really understand what I was writing. So it forced me to not assume things. So I had to go back and sort of make sure that I knew what I was writing. So these are, book sales, online course sales. There's no real income from YouTube, but
but this is
those videos anyway. It's something that also helps to build exposure, build a brand, but also bring income from other sources than selling cars. But It's still racing, and it all supports each other. Plus, also the fact that then this whole RCGP venture of not only focusing on my own company, but RC as a whole. Can RC as a whole be something better than now? Well, that's one way to try and make it something better than now, something bigger than now. It's never going to be, like you said, it's never going to be some cool sport on TV where, you win the worlds and get a new girlfriend. Kind of like, no, that's not going to happen, But it doesn't need to happen either. I think that what we do can be improved. The racing can be more fun. It can be more accessible to people. And I think we should try and do that. It's I see it.
Because me and Jeff have been in the media, and Jeff has made things for a living.
I have a suspension book that I made a lot of money.
I mean, I'll use Jeff's DVDs as a thing. Is that sometimes, and a good idea is subject to timing, right? So I did a beer magazine, and one of the bigger breweries told me my magazine was 5 years ahead of its time. And in that 5 years, it went out of business. And so looking at let's, say media, what you want to focus on, and kind of our terrible idea to keep doing media, nobody pays for it anymore. So the problem with that is that race coverage still has a giant cost. and
Yeah.
getting people to pay for that cost is becoming harder and hard. I mean, Live RC, I can't tell you how their business model works, to be honest with you, because I don't understand the manpower and
Well,
internet
you're
setup.
not including the subscription and the ad revenue that Brandon gets.
Yeah, but I don't know it. Well,
When you're
yeah,
trying to
sure.
figure out how the track pays for that crew to go out, that's not where the money comes from. The money comes from many areas for him.
But let me explain that they used to cover a lot of races and now they don't. And that would tell me that subscription model doesn't pay for a traveling circus to cover 50 races a year, which is why I would say, RCGP, I don't know what their goal number of races is, but there's a giant cost to put on a race. And at this point, as I said, the timing of paying media was, back when there was magazines where they were understood that value. Now it's it's hard to put a value on it. YouTube will pay. I mean, I'll make a cool 42 US cents off this video. That doesn't pay for the light on next to me. But that's the only thing is, and I'm not being a downer about this, because I think that a better form of racing, for me, I've said this a million times at this point, higher cost and lower entries is more appealing to me than flood it with 5,000 people racing and 4 minutes of track time and no practice and stuff like that. I'd rather pay more and have more of an event than 3 days of shitty qualifying, freezing, and getting 20 minutes of running on a track. And then the main is a shit show, Sunday night at 10 o'clock where nobody wants to be there.
Yeah, I think that's eventually where it will go. But the thing about media, I think, is a big problem because we aren't getting the exposure that, I mean, we have the social media and YouTube and all of this stuff. We have the ability to show our sport and hobby to people. And to some extent, it is getting shown. But we don't have the professional media now doing the coverage as they used to do in the past.
Right.
So what we really need is we need this age of social media and everyone being connected, but we need it with that professional media coverage. And so we used to have it, but we didn't have the exposure. Now we have the exposure, but we lack the professional coverage.
Well, the exposure is what put the professional coverage out of business.
Yeah, yes. Ironically,
I remember when Derek met you, because I was there as well in North Carolina in 2008 at the Worlds. I remember that's the first race that I had covered with Derek where, I mean, it's fine. This is the direction it went in, where it wasn't just the 3 magazines standing there taking a picture of the podium. There was 50 people around with their cell phones, and we couldn't actually even get in. The professionals couldn't actually even get in to get a nice shot, which I'm not complaining, but the direction.
I complained.
Well, right. At the time I complained, we were frustrated, but the point is these large reach networks that are giving us the reach are also the same networks that shut down all the professional companies that were doing the professional coverage, arguably.
Yeah. And I think the companies in racing, RC brands in racing, are actually making a mistake when they don't support the media companies. So now all these RC brands think, okay, we're not going to pay, we aren't going to contribute to the RC websites or magazines or Live RC or whoever. We aren't going to contribute money to them to cover the race. We are going to do our own coverage.
Right.
So they have a guy there filming some usually shitty video on a phone and uploading it to Facebook. And they think that that's more valuable than everyone coming together and making sure that Live RC are there, Red RC are there, Neo Buggy, whatever, right?
We have power. We have a power in a group, and racing really has to be together because alone they can't really do anything. Like, let's be real. And I'm not going to pick on Mugen, but I'll pick them because they're still a kind of a standalone race company. They don't do anything to promote their cars. They don't sponsor anybody, like sponsor media, but they'll be the first one to say it's too expensive to get the exposure, which I just don't understand in a way. But in a group, in a group, you can have 10 of those companies pay somebody to make it look bigger than it is and more professional, but they don't want to do it anymore. I'll use a techno at the time when they were advertising me and paying really nothing, maybe $300 to have an ad and to review all their cars. I'll talk real money. There's just nothing. They told me that they're focusing $300 on hiring someone to do their own content. And my main reply was, if you equate what you pay me out, you can't even hire someone to do what I do for you. So, like you were going to hire someone to do video, write a review, promote it, take all the pictures. You're going to pay a salary that is not $300 every 2 months. But you thought that was a better idea. And to be quite honest, I still don't see any of their stuff anywhere, even though they focused on that.
Yeah, I think that one problem is that actually this is sort of my philosophy for everything, really, is that when there's a problem,
to be good.
when there's a problem, identify the selfishness, and you are close to the core issue. Like, you can look at anything really and identify where the selfishness is, and you have probably found the problem. Does that make sense? So you can look at the RC industry, for example. Why aren't we growing? Why are we struggling? And then you look, okay, so let's find the selfishness. Where's the selfishness? And when it comes to racing companies, it's one thing is, for example, this. Okay, well, we don't want to pay media because if we support a media company, they will give exposure to all brands, but we don't want all brands to get exposure, only us. So we are only going to do something that benefits us. Okay, even if this other thing would be beneficial for everyone and the industry as a whole, and we would benefit too, we don't want that. We don't want to help other people, only ourselves. Like this kind of mentality. It's normal in, I think, everywhere, but the RC industry is so small that this sort of thinking gets amplified because we can't even sort of sustain ourselves if everyone thinks this way.
It wasn't like that in the past because, in the past, it was a get together and make sure we had media coverage. And, it was, when it kind of fell apart for us in the magazine industry, it was like, I think it was very apparent at that North Carolina one is that we actually got kicked off the track and kicked out of the event. And
not kicked out of the event, but we
no, we were kicked out of the event. I think you forgot we got kicked out. But
they asked, right.
Why were you kicked out?
Because I needed to go take pictures, and
they didn't cover the race, and we weren't allowed
to cover the race. So first of all, they wanted to charge me to be there. They said that you had to pay a media fee, and I was like, that would be like you charging ESPN to show up here, and their answer was, well, you're not ESPN. I said, well, you're kind of fucked up. We're the ESPN of the industry. You have 3 magazines that paid someone to show up. You didn't pay me to be here. You don't give me a spot to put my camera down. And I'm going to do coverage in a magazine, regardless how big it was. All the magazines were there. And you expect us to be not on the track except for whoever your friend was laying in the middle of the track, which was fun.
That's when they gave us the go ahead one other, right.
Yeah,
we did eventually get on the track.
And that was the end of why are we spending all this money to cover races? At the time, we would cover every big race. I was traveling around the country, spending, 3 to 5 days, which costs the company anywhere, depends how much I drank, $1,500 to $2,000 to, just to go to do this and then put the product out. And, at that point, I kind of made a conscious decision, and it still happens to be now in the digital magazine. Racing doesn't want us there. And all these, at the time, live events were covering it at the time, which would be out of date. But they never put together a finished package that looked professional. And even live at RC at their peak would have all this bullshit coverage during the day. And then at the end, you couldn't find who won or a picture of the winners, which is sort of what everybody was racing for.
I've ranted so much at Live RC. I really gave Brandon a hard time about this a few years ago. And they've actually become a bit better. But I'm like, hey, what is Live RC? It's results, right? Your job is to post the fucking results. So can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course.
Even the world championships, there's no results. I want to know who finished 27th. How do I do that?
Right.
I had a big rant about this. They didn't have the results. I couldn't find out who finished 27th or even where. Oh, well, you have to go to the semifinal. No, I don't have to go and check the.
Yeah, you had to find it yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
It's ridiculous. It took them years to figure out to post the overall results after the races. Incredible.
And I don't mean to sound anti-Live RC because I really think they did a lot and still contribute. But at the time when this happened, I've told this story on the air before. I went to Brandon, who was now spending all this money traveling, and I noticed, hey, you guys aren't doing a professional end coverage. And I said, you guys are going all these things. We'll be your coverage maker. So at the end of the race, send me pictures, send me the results, send me, some text that we can form it into a race coverage, and we'll post your Live RC coverage through our magazine in print. So it looks like we went there, so we didn't have to spend the money. Now we're just spending time and effort to create it. And he basically told me to fuck off in a nice way.
I think I agree that Live RC does a lot of good, and it's not like let's shit on Live RC now for 10 minutes. But Live RC is something that we need in the industry and the hobby. So they are doing they have a positive contribution to give. But I think they could do a better job. I think that Brandon, the owner of Live RC, I think his heart is in the right place, sort of like his goals. I've spoken to him enough to know that his vision, his idea, his goals are similar to mine, I would say. But the execution is lacking for maybe two reasons. One, I think that he's a bit overwhelmed with too much to do and not able to focus on the things that, okay, these things, I need to get them done. No, there's too much to do, not enough money, not enough resources, and it just gets sort of, it's like halfway, doesn't get it done. That's one. And then two, the attitude of sort of protecting his baby too much and not being willing to open up and like, look, hey, let's work together and make this work. It's more like, I need to do this on my own, or we need to do this, like, open up, look at the other players who have the same goals as you, work together. You have nothing to lose. Sort of maybe share a bit of the pie, make some kind of deals, win-win. Like, that's what needs to happen, I think. So they could be doing a lot better than they are right now, but it's not like the problem. A decision needs to be made somewhere.
YouTube and all the free channels have now kind of also blown out his model, because it used to be you had to be a member to watch, and then it was now you don't have to be a member. So why would you pay to be a member?
I think you get no commercials if you're a member.
I understand where he's coming from also, because of things like he's spending a lot of money to make coverage, and then J Concepts goes on the driver's stand as live streaming the main and or something like that. So that kind of causes a problem where you're spending money to put out the coverage, and then other people are doing it and taking away your viewers, sort of. But I think all the more reason for trying to find a way to work together.
There's a big irony of that, because they were the ones that really pushed magazines out of business of covering races.
This is the same story as my 08 story about taking a picture of the podium.
And now they're into the same thing of, oh my God, this person's doing it for less than me.
Yeah. And the old Brandon just used to be called Car Action. There's always been a monopoly guy or a big player. First of all, marketing is a lot more fragmented now. Back in the day, you had Car Action, Extreme, and maybe Driver, maybe RC Car Magazine. There wasn't a lot of internet advertising. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of options to advertise. It's very fragmented. It used to be simple. You run an ad in 2 magazines and you do this promotion and you sponsor that race, and there's your marketing budget for the year. Try and put a plan like that together now. It's not so who do you give your money to, and you have to give a tiny bit of money to 100 people rather than, I mean, you used to pay $3,000 for a page in Car Action, but you'd sell a bunch of shit after you did that. It's not as simple as that anymore. There isn't just an outlet you choose and sell your stuff. It's a different game now for a number of reasons.
One thing I pitched to the companies that support RCGP that have teams there, so HB, S-Works, Infinity, who else? I can't even remember now. So it's JQ Racing, HB Racing, S-Works, Infinity.
Who else is in? If you ever won anything. Like to thank my sponsors.
Why can't I even remember who's in there? Anyway, the teams in RCGP, I pitched them the idea that, hey, why don't we sit down and figure out which races we're going to with our paid professional drivers. Let's go to the same events and let's put some money in a pool and pay for Control RC /RC Racing TV to go there to cover the race, to cover our race at least, you know? So we then have good media coverage for us to use, you know? So that was just an idea. First of all, just to get the good drivers at the same big races, to get some consistency. Oh yeah, associate, it's Compirosa. See, Keenan knows. He's my secretary. So so go to the same races, get some consistency, you know, month to month, week to week, have the same drivers competing, racing each other, you know, get some storylines going, get some good video coverage, pictures, you know. That's possible to do, and it's not that expensive when it's 5 or 6 brands coming together and deciding to do that. Hey, we're going here anyway. Let's just put $1,000 in, $750, $500, whatever, and we'll have this professional media crew come over and cover the race for us. Not the whole race, you know, like a live stream of all the racing, our racing, you know?
Right. So to be honest with you, the live stuff in this show included is usually terrible because there's a lot of downtime and there's no organization. Yeah. They don't know what to do, and it's a bunch of people babbling and shaky cameras, and it's not put together to look professional. That's why, you know, that's why TV shows are
people
live.
Don't care as much about that as getting the coverage. You get the coverage first, then you worry about increasing the quality. I think someone will watch a shitty feed rather than no feed.
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't have to be live. You can put it together and have it come out later and have a bigger impact than watching 8 hours a day to try to get something out of it. I mean, maybe everybody's
what would be nice is to have the live stream and then have a nice, you know, like we have hockey games in an hour where if you watch the game the next day, they've edited it down and taken all the shit out. It'd be nice to have someone edit together a 24-hour race into a nice hour-long. Here's a synopsis of all the huge events. But then that's, again, you need an editor who's got to get paid and on and on and on. There's lots of things you could do with the valuable footage and content, but
that's what RCGP did with those races. So
I thought you did a great job.
Even the live stream was sort of mainly focused on the RCGP class, and then had some breaks, and then had some sort of get to know the drivers or this or that sort of features, and then the racing. But then also after the event, there was this sort of, I think, 1 hour show, which was just intro, qualifying races, bit of a couple of features, and then main events.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it was more like a real, you know, racing event show. So,
is this still going? Are you doing this again this year?
Well, pending COVID. So
right. Okay, but is that the bottleneck right now? Just
COVID. Yeah, as long as I'm hoping that the world would open up sort of June, July, something like that, which is quite realistic at this point, I think. And if that happens, then it will still happen.
We're all going to be eating our words in a few months, but
I'm almost I'm 50% vaccinated, so I'll be free.
You got the shot?
Yeah, I'm important.
You're not that important.
Yeah, I go to CVS.
What does that mean? Is that where you got the shot?
It's a drugstour, yeah.
No, I know what CVS is. I'm not that ignorant.
That's where they're giving out free shots.
You, people know about your country. You guys just don't know about other people's countries.
Future Shop would give you a shot.
Future Shop is out of business now.
And IKEA or whatever finished furniture store.
Need a beer.
He's going to get a beer. It's great.
Of course he is.
Yeah, we have vaccinations, bro. We're vaccinated.
Yeah, well, so do we, but we're some of the over 80 people still.
Well,
I guess you pushed an old lady aside to protect yourself. That's cool. That's all right.
Now, once they crack open the vaccine, it has a shelf life. So if people make appointments and don't show up, they got to get rid of the shit. So.
Oh, so you were on like vaccine standby?
No, I wasn't. I just made an appointment.
Well, that's what you just described. But right, okay.
I know.
Cheers.
All right, cheers, buddy. We need to thank Joseph a little bit for being up at 3 a.m. for us.
That's okay.
I'm assuming you're at home and an adult. 3 a.m. ain't like stretching it. It's not a 24-hour marathon.
It's okay. I thought this was starting at 3:30. It started at 2:30, so we're good.
So for anybody that's not watching or is watching, doesn't make any sense. RCGP is a professional. What would you equate it to? Like
motocross, RC Supercross, but they're marketing it and filming it and shooting it. And the grid that drops all 10 or all 12 cars in side by side at once. It's awesome. I think you did a great job on it. I hope it continues.
Yeah, it should do.
I don't know that I like the 12 guys into turn one at the same time, but it does make for some entertaining racing.
I love that. I love that way of starting. I think that us RC drivers just need to learn how to do it.
Yeah, we've been spoiled. That's right.
More patient, So I think that if that was the way of racing, eventually the racers would learn to be more patient and respectful, and most starts would be good.
Out of the starts that you had, what was the percentage of good?
My personal starts, or
the whole series of the 12 into turn one or whatever. That's track design.
I don't know.
By the way.
I don't know.
It just lacks Supercross does it all the time.
It's just track design. Like if you have
you lack having the person in the vehicle to get injured.
Yeah.
So you get a lot more courage. Yeah, there's nothing to lose. I mean, there's a race to lose, but you tend to be more willing to tame it down when there's some injury potential, I think.
Yeah, that's what the drivers need to learn. So just in general, even in racing, the better drivers understand that they can hit a certain section at this speed. But if there's someone ahead of them, they go a bit slower. Right. They show that respect, and also sort of they are a bit careful because they don't know exactly what speed that other driver will do a section in, right? And the same in starts. They know, well, if I was doing this start alone, I could go this speed. Well, there are 5 cars in front of me, so I'm going to go a bit slower. So everyone just needs to adjust that dial in their head a bit more.
And let's not pretend with the staggered race starts, we've never seen a first turn 10-car pileup.
No, but even spread out advantage over the guy behind you. It's often a lot cleaner start. I'm not against the group start. It's just, again, to imply that we're going to sit 12 people down and say, listen, everyone cool it and we'll have a good race here is in my opinion not reasonable. But I still like the idea, and it will evolve over time. The hobby in general won't adopt it, but for this type of race, I think it's super fun.
Yeah,
especially with our qualifying setup. No one's going to adopt that with our. You're not going to qualify for 4 days and then give it all away by. No, I mean, if you change the whole racing program to a different type, then that's fine. But you're not going to qualify for 4 days to then grid that way. You qualify for 4 days to have that 6-foot advantage.
We need to change the way we race, though.
Yeah, that's fine. If you change the whole thing front to back, then it'd be very viable and fun. And as you've been a huge advocate of, this needs to be more fun for the viewer, not necessarily the participant, if we're going to grow.
Both, really. I mean,
of course.
I think as it is right now, I think more so in America. I did a video about this. I was talking that racing, there's 3 kinds of different racing. There's racing in Asia, Europe, and America, and they're all different. And if we focus on the American kind of racing now, it really is, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but it is kind of the worst out of the 3 because you spend the most amount of time at the track for the least amount of fun at the track. Unless you're like Lefty and just like hanging around in the pits and talking to people, socializing. Yeah, that's fun. But driving on the track, you don't really do that much, because it's all about the entries. So you have to run many classes to get a decent amount of time on the track. And I think that really needs to be improved. And the problem is that the only people who really do that sort of bigger than local track club race that takes a few hours are insane people that have some sort of brain injury. And they think that spending 12 hours a day at the RC track is a healthy thing to do, right? So you have to be slightly insane to have RC as a hobby and do the JBRLs and the PMBs and these races, right? Because you need to spend multiple days all day at the track. And it doesn't, that thing that bugs me is it doesn't need to be that way.
It's the blanket comment that JQ's heard all.
We'll get
if
to
you don't
this
like
in a
it,
minute.
why are you here? Kind of a thing.
We can get to that in a minute. We can get to that in a minute. So what I was saying was that the thing that bugs me is it doesn't need to be this way. We could do this in a way where we make it possible for people who can only spend 6 hours a day at the track to race. We can do that. And it frustrates me that we don't. You know, we could stagger the classes. There are a billion classes in America, so stagger them. Have 8-scale electric run in the morning, have truggy in the day, have nitro at night, or, you know, something like that. You don't need to have all the classes, all the skill levels run from morning to night. You don't need to do that. I have an actual brain injury.
Conversation.
Yeah.
It's a very different conversation at the national and world's level than at the local level, of course, as well. How you would run a JBRL race would be different than a weekly race, I would think, as well.
Yeah, JBL, to be honest with you, I don't think they're as big as they used to be, so they're not the 20-hour days anymore.
I just mean big races compared to local club races. You'll have a different program. I mean, it'd be nice to have a program that would work everywhere. But when you're planning for 30 entries at a club race, it's different than when you're planning for 530 entries at a national.
And to be honest with you, that's what he just said is just it's like saying the music is too loud. It's just a sign of getting old, to be honest with you, because when you were younger, you spent the time doing whatever. You skateboarded all day, you were at the track all day. Like
the big races that bring out the hardcore racers are fine with 12-hour days. That's what they're there for.
Yeah,
the
now
more
it's like,
passive racer,
race
kind of
an
guy,
hour and a half. Yeah.
Well, you're not going to the worlds and to the nationals to participate. You're going to the club race, so that's again a different conversation. You don't want a 12-hour day, and I can appreciate that. But the guy that packed up and drove across the country, he's completely fine with a 12-hour day. So again, it's what works for a 500 entry race is not necessarily what will work for a 30 person.
Yeah, but you went to the extreme. He's talking about a club race. It's not.
I'm not poo-pooing anything JQ just said. I'm adding a point.
Something like JBRL is a club race, though, even though they call it something else.
Nitro Challenge. Then what I meant was the bigger, whatever you plan to do. Like if there's 500 entries at DNC and you want to split it into 250 racers for 3 days, and that's a different conversation than what you would do at a club race level. Was all I was saying. That JBRL was a bad example then.
I don't know if you know this, but he only raced the last race he raced was a mini Z. So
and carpet off.
You got about a 40
day
on that race.
Yeah. Have you ever raced Mini Z, JQ?
No, I've tried a Mini Z, never raced it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like a mini 12-scale car.
Let's go back to a little bit of where your company is headed. So,
before we do that, I remembered something that I forgot.
All right,
I forgot to say this. I wanted to say this because you said that it took a lot of courage to do what I did.
Yep.
And you know what?
Or a brain injury.
It didn't. It really didn't. And I only learned this later on. Like I was perfectly happy. Like, yeah, it took a lot of courage. Like I'm such a brave guy, but really, no, it really didn't. And the thing is that we all have different life experiences, and we're all in different situations. And the fact is that I'm very lucky. I'm born into a rich country. I have a family. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Basically, nothing. You know, like what could happen? I start a company and I fail. Like, I'm not going to be homeless on the street. I don't have any responsibilities. I don't have any kids. Like, there was no risk, zero risk.
Well,
really.
yeah, that's the youth. Yeah.
No,
You
that's
know,
a good point. It's a very good point. You
Yeah,
wouldn't do the same thing if you had a wife and a 5-year-old at home.
No, or even if I lived in a different country, or I didn't have a family, or there was some sort of risk, like, oh, if I lose everything and I'm jobless and homeless, and like there was no risk like that. So
Yeah.
when you are in a situation like that, there is no risk. Really, if you really think, if you look at the situation, then you have a family, you have an education, you have basically a safety net. Like, I started a company, I took a loan, I lost everything. Now I have nothing. Well, yeah, you still have a family and an education, and you can get a job, and you can live at your mom's house if you need to. Do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's a difference when all you have to lose is your CD collection compared to your house and
right. Yeah. Like,
Again,
I owned
the youth and
nothing.
stupidity there. Like it didn't phase you you didn't have anything at the time, but
Yeah.
I promise you, if you made a bunch of money and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm going to give up.
He's
my
not talking
high-paying
about the time
job.
where he's already made the money, though. He's talking
Yeah,
before
I
he's made
know.
money. So it's everything he's saying is absolutely. I started a very different company than JQ, but I dropped out of university to sell toy car DVDs or VHS tapes. So I get it. I had nothing to lose too. I could go back to school. I'm not trying to compare the stories, but youth and no responsibility gives you a lot more freedom to fail or potentially
And
fail.
VHS tapes.
What's that?
And VHS tapes.
Yeah, there you go. That dates me a bit. By the way, JQ, you owe me royalties
For what?
on the
Did I use your video?
Because
on that. What is that?
in 1999, my very first
He
product
invented the all
was Triple X
caps,
named the video, and I started it
Was
before
it?
anyone else in the world. So whatever, we'll
It was
talk.
the video, really?
It really was. Anyway,
That's funny.
I joke. Obviously, 8% will be fine.
8%. Okay. 8% to nothing.
Yeah, right.
You can have 8% of my
Of his debt.
debts.
That's fair. All right, so
Okay,
listen, for those who aren't following us close, I don't know how long we're going to go here, but let's hear the main story with Joseph and what's going on right now, because there's a pretty big story. No?
Yeah. Did you have a
Let's
video?
talk.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to take me a second to click on it. I don't know if the sound comes. Do we know if the sound comes through this other?
Yeah, if you go to Chrome tab, open it.
Yeah.
Chrome
I
tab,
got that, but I don't know if the actual
click.
sound comes through when I share it. That's all. I
Yeah,
can't
but
tell.
then
'cause
you
I
can
see it.
select to share with sound.
I like how he knows how to use it, but this is just the first video. So, look at that. Do you use this software too, or what?
I've used it, yeah.
All right. Oh, you know what? Share with sound, but push play. Oh, shit.
I was laughing at Jay Smoker's comment.
Mayako, and I'm right.
Yeah, the comments are going pretty fun right now.
Jason Schaefer is over there.
Oh, the pussy one?
No,
Oh,
his latest one.
oh, this one?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that came on just as he started the video. I don't know.
I don't know what's gay or us or watching us. Figure that one out.
I don't know either.
Yeah. So there's a new company. So JQ Racing is going to end production of cars. That's probably the quickest summary of your hour and 40-minute video.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So by the end of the year, production stops, and you're joining a new company that looks like to be a collaboration. There's some other videos in there showing that they're kind of doing a JQ theme of just being everywhere, not a home base. That's looking like. It's easy to guess that obviously this is going to be an Asian company. I think those are.
Yeah. So I could break it down like this. So JQ Racing will still exist, but it won't be a car brand anymore. So production has already stopped. So we have some cars. We're going to sell out the cars, and then we're still going to have spare parts and service people who are running JQ cars for the foreseeable future. So probably for the next few years, there'll still be people with JQ cars, so we'll have spare parts for them.
That's important and good that you're doing it.
Yeah, so that's not a problem. If we run out of something, we can still make more to service those customers. But I'm thinking we'll be pretty good. We have parts. The reason I wanted to do this was that I realized that I had been doing it almost for 10 years. So what I was doing wasn't working how I intended it to work. I didn't have, do I have to read this? What is this?
Somebody just made a poem. I guess I had to post it while you're talking, so I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, poem. Okay, so I realized that this isn't going to get me where I want. This isn't going to get me to the point where the company is running smooth, I'm making good money, hired all the right people for the right jobs, all that stuff. Like, it's not working. So I had a design for a new car, and I thought, I'm not going to make it. I will find someone to buy this car. And I tried again, like when I first started.
10 years ago, right?
Yeah. So even Infinity, I figured, Infinity, they must be in the market for an 8-scale buggy. So contacted them, pitched the idea to them, and that would have been just an Infinity buggy. Like, hey, I'll be your designer, whatever. So I tried that. This is for a few years. Like, I had the first design was 2016. I had one, but it wasn't really good enough. So I kind of redid it a bit. And then 18 and 19, trying to find a partner to work with, something to work with. And then I think this deal was made early 2020, I think it was. And I think this really was the best possible outcome, because I no longer need to be the person who is sort of in charge and doing everything. So I have a company, I design a product, I produce the product, I distribute the product around the world. Now I am a designer. My Finnish company, JQ Racing, is the design company that Mayako has hired to design their products. So I have a deal with Mayako to design their products. And that changes my situation a lot, because now I get to focus on the thing that I actually enjoy the most, which is R&D, designing and developing a product. And not only that, the only way I was going to do that was if the company that I was going to work with would agree to do things a bit differently than the current industry standard of we make a car, we sponsor everyone, and that's how we're going to take over the world. Because I already knew that's not going to work. So I had this idea also for a sales strategy of how you can create a new brand and a product and sell it in a way where you can actually make money. So the company can actually function, and you can set yourself apart from the competition, and you can make a better product, and you can provide better service to the customers. So I had this idea, I pitched it to them, and they basically agreed to do it that way. And so when I had a company that was willing to use my idea for the sales strategy and make a sort of exclusive deal that I am the design company for their cars, it's like it's a no-brainer at that point.
By the way, I think you, unlike Jeff's I think some of your new strategy was a conversation we had in Ontario.
Yeah, so you brought that up. So
more royalties coming, buddy. All right, Derek, we can retire on JQ.
So
no, we had a very serious conversation about this.
So I have to thank you for the pushing me towards the subscription model. That's really what it was about.
Yeah.
And that is what spawned the 100, which was the group of people you could subscribe for $35 a month, and you would get parts in the mail. First, it started monthly. That didn't work. Quarterly. And then it changed to quarterly. And the idea was that people who were running the JQ buggy and following what we were doing, they would receive prototype parts or something sort of exclusive that other people couldn't get due to their subscription. Well, that went on now for a few years. It never really worked right, because it was hard to manage, and it was really hard to do. But the idea, it's good that it's really good that I did it, because I could see the potential in it, and that's what then led to this, the sort of Mayako idea. So the Mayako idea is kind of like a subscription model, but not quite. So the idea is that anyone can buy a Mayako buggy, but you have to buy it at retail price. And there are no team spots. Like, you don't get a 50% deal. You don't get a 75% deal, 20% deal. Like, you just don't. You just buy it at retail price. That's how it works. Except if you are committed to the brand, like you like the brand, you want to commit for a year, for example. You're like, I'm going to run this for the whole year, and I'm going to, I race a lot. I buy a couple of cars, buy a bunch of spares. I'm active in the hobby. I'm going to become a member. So that's kind of where the subscription model comes in. So you pay for a membership, and that membership gives you ultimate access to the brand and the people behind the brand. So then you do get a discount. So it's a higher cost up front for the customer, but they make the savings down the road. If they know that they are sticking around for the year and they are active in RC racing, they're going to save a lot during the year. It's just that instead of the normal model where you get the benefit immediately, so any idiot can write a resume and get a discount, buy a car, and switch the next week to another brand. That's not how this works, because you are paying up front. So you are committed to this brand, right? So you've paid your membership, you committed for the year, you save money due to the discounts throughout the year. But what this model makes possible for Mayako is that you kind of know that, okay, you have this customer base and you have these sort of subscribed members. So you have a budget. You can take care of these people much better than you otherwise could. So they have access to these prototype parts that normally only that sort of paid professional drivers have access to. They have access to me as the designer. We have a Discord group where we discuss new products, new cars, developments. Now I've been testing the Mayako buggy, so the members we have now have seen the car. They've talked about the car design and the testing that I've been doing, and we actually have a call this week where they'll learn more about it again, and we'll have sort of a second in-depth discussion, live stream discussion about what we're doing. So they are normal customers. Anyone can sign up for this. So anyone can be in a position of being a part of the brand as if they are a paid professional driver, if that makes sense, you know? So they have access to the people behind the brand. They have access to prototypes. They can give their feedback and, you know,
are you running a program that brings any of the old JQ team over? Or is there a if you used to run my JQ car, you can now get into this program a little bit less expensive or with some extra bonuses? You doing something to leverage that?
Yeah, so obviously the first members they were just transitioned over. So those people who are in the 100, they became the first members of
right.
This.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And then all people who run JQ cars at the moment, they have the possibility of becoming members and getting the car a lot cheaper than what just normal people would. So to make it a smoother transition. So for them, it's like, well, instead of getting a new JQ, I'll just get the Mayako, and then boom, they get the membership. They're in the new program, so to speak, just to smooth it out for those guys.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do you think you're at a disadvantage? I don't know where they're going to be based. I mean, I'm assuming it's an Asian-based company, but would you have been more successful in one of the three main markets? I mean, I'm not considering Finland not in the main market, but you're I guess you're attached to mainland Europe, but you're a little farther, right?
Yeah, it's Europe.
Yeah, but like, let's say do you think if you started JQ in America that you would have got a better following than you would have?
I mean, yeah, of course. Like if I was American, lived in America, and started, and I did exactly the same thing that I did now. So imagine me, but I'm American, and talk shit on Europe, and make an RC car in America, right? I would be way more successuable.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but
I do.
No, because you're closer to the big players. You had to have you have a disadvantage being away from the huge market.
I'll tell you why.
But you're not right next door to Associated and Losi. So there's advantages to that as well.
Look at Techno.
Techno, I would say, was an example of that, but don't use examples of Jeff. He doesn't like them.
Yeah, so the thing is that it's a lot easier to capture your home domestic market, right?
I think you got Finland. Do you have Finland covered? Like, is every Finnish driver?
Finland is such a tiny speck in the grand scheme of things that you could have like every single RC driver in Finland running a JQ, and it wouldn't even matter. You know, so that's a big problem. And then with it being Europe, every single country is different. So there's no such thing as, oh, this is European, so we'll support it. Like, it doesn't exist. Every country is different. In America, if you do something, you can get, you know, if you're from Florida, it's not like only people from Florida is going to support you. No, if you do your marketing well, it's like the entire United States will back you. This is an American-made American company.
If you're in the U.S., you would need.
That's no problem. You don't need to do that yourself.
You think Horizon would have picked up JQ? No, if you were, I'm not trying to be
need to do that. I have a good distributor in America now, for example, in Beach RC. They do a great job. America's.
But this is what my argument was. That
1/3 to half of my market, depending on the year, right? So America is a big market. But what I'm saying is, imagine Adam Drake made something, okay, like 10 years ago. He decided to make something, Adam Drake tires. Dude, every idiot would be running those in America, right? So but not people in Germany wouldn't. So the thing is that it's easy, quote unquote, it's easier to capture your home country, your domestic market. It's hard to capture an international market. So if you look at techno are big in America, very big on the East Coast, I would say, central to East Coast, right? So they're killing it in America, I would say, for 8 scale. That's what it looks like, to me, at least, the races I've been to. In Europe, they have like 7 cars in the whole of Europe. European Championships, there was 1 guy, a paid professional driver. Asia is like 12 cars, you know? Like, that's what it looks like to me. So 98% of their sales are in America. Not much in Europe, not much in Asia. So, I mean, I don't know. That just shows me that for techno, it's enough to just capture the American market. They don't need to worry about Europe. They don't need to worry about Asia. For me, I had to worry about the whole world just to scrape by. I had to be like, okay, so I need to sell to Europe. I need to sell to America. I need to sell to Asia. Because my home country, if I had focused on that, I would have basically been bankrupt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
From the start. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I made this car. No one bought it. Done. You know?
Yeah, no,
I don't know how that rant started, but that was my point.
No, well, it started with you felt you would have been a lot more successful if you were in the US.
The new company doesn't claim a country yet, although, like I said, the obvious Japanese undertone of the voiceover, I would assume, is somewhere there. But it's not, I don't think that's even known, to be honest with you. Is it known where they're technically going to be based out of?
It will be Taiwan-made car. So pretty much like most other cars also.
It comes down to the countries it's supported in anyways. Traxxas is in Texas, but it's all made in Asia. As long as you have a big U.S. presence overseeing the manufacturing and the quality.
The base of where you're going to be.
Everything's made in Asia. Yeah, that's right. You brand the brand where you choose to brand it. It's all going to be made overseas anyways. That's whether it's Taiwan or China, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say that this is a similar situation to RCGP. So when RCGP started, I was heavily involved because it was my idea, right? So quick story. David Isherwood, I would meet him every year at the Neo Buggy race. And every year he would say, hey, JQ, you should make a race. I think you could do a good job. Like, you should make a JQ race. And I said, I'm not a race organizer. I'm a car designer. I don't want to make a race. So like 5 years later, he says the same thing. I say, okay, look, I'll do a race if we do it like this. If we do a World Championship Series like Formula One for RC, okay, I'll do it. And then this idiot says, yeah, okay, let's do it. So then I'm like, damn, I didn't expect that. So, okay, I made the plan, put it together. And the first year I had to be like heavily involved because like I needed to make it happen, right? But now I don't really do anything for RCGP now, you know? I race in it, and that's about it. Like, we have some conference calls sometimes and bouncing ideas to and fro, but it's his thing. It's not my thing. Mayako is similar in the way that in the beginning, because this was, again, sort of my idea, like, hey, I have this idea for a brand and how we can position it in the market, do the sales and marketing. I think it should be done like this, and I really think it can work. And I've designed the car. This is the car. So now in the beginning, I have to make that happen. I have to make it work. So I need to find the right people to hire and to sort of explain the idea to them, make sure that they understand the vision and do the job they're hired to do. And then when that's sort of in place, then I can be kanai. going to the track and doing donuts and developing the car. And
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's
That's a good goal.
Here's the danger of being an RC car designer, and is that you only know of Kanai as a car designer, and most other people don't know who designed any car.
Well, who says
I don't
cares
care.
who knows them?
I really don't care.
I mean,
That's
Not about
Kanai's only the one.
Mr.
Kanai is probably the only designer that has a job secure, because he's been with Kyosho forever. But the other designers have all bounced around and they don't own any of the products. So it's like they're not, once they're there, you can maybe hire someone half the price. So there's a danger in that. That idea.
I mean, I guess the only risk for me is that they would say, like, after 2 years, like, okay, this works great, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that is the risk. That, if we're honest, like, that would be the risk, that they have a great product line and sales strategy and all that, and then they just
constantly evolving hobby. They wouldn't be able to use that program anyways.
Goodbye. But I think the thing is that the value in the brand is really in the after-sale service. So the people who are in place taking care of the customers, and also the information that I am able to put out as the designer of the car. I run the car, figure out the setups, explain why people should do this, why they shouldn't do that, all of that stuff. That is really the value of the brand. Right. So I think that Mayako also would realize that, like, hey, we have this product, but if we get rid of JQ and all that stuff, that's really like the heart and soul of the brand itself. Like, maybe like 10 years down the road or something, yeah. But for now, I don't see like what would be left. It would just be another brand that no one gives a shit about.
Any company that was like, good, we're finished, get rid of the guy, is not going to last long in the racing industry anyways.
Yeah, but there's examples of that everywhere. I mean, the big race teams have gotten rid of designers and the brand goes on.
No, you'd have to replace them. It would be the point.
Yeah, well, yeah. Nobody's saying,
nothing
hey,
to say that you can't fire JQ and hire another
ride the whip after the first turn.
Great car, we're done. Here's our car for the next 10 years. That would never be a thing.
I just think that the collaboration is at a deeper level than just like hiring a guy to draw some.
Yeah, but hopefully you have some sort of connection. I would have said part ownership is a way to keep someone involved. But hiring a design firm, there's no part ownership. I'm just giving honest feedback of partnerships because they don't always work out.
Screw you, buddy.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'm saying, I always look at how is it going to fall apart to try to fix it from falling apart.
Oh, whatever. There's nothing you do about it now, anyways. Do your shit.
Well, no, but again, there's a company that has no. I don't know if this is a company that's been around, but there's no product, so it's very hard to make any judgment of what the philosophy is other than the video.
No one ever walks into a new fun project.
Very fortune cookie like.
This Tommy Fenn guy, he's spamming all kinds of hate. So he was saying that sounds like different terminology for the standard sponsorship program. So we could just tackle that one because it really isn't. So the problem we have in the industry now is that we have a limited amount of races. And for that limited amount of races, there are too many brands. And to make it even more complicated, we don't have enough hobby shops for all the brands either. So the sort of lesser brands aren't able to get in the hobby shops. And also, they aren't able to get enough customers to sell their cars to. So what do? They say, hey, you want to run my car? I'll give you a discount. Oh, okay. And that then led to basically everyone who's active in racing is able to get a discount, because what people started to do is contact company A, can I get a discount? No. B, no. C, no. D, no. E,
they don't even say no anymore.
Then they got a discount. So companies noticed this, and then they were like, if I don't give this guy a discount, my competitor will. And it ended up being in a situation where everyone was sponsored. Yeah. So
Hey, and look,
I
let's be
didn't
real
want
of this
to-
stuff. Whatever it takes to make money in this day and age to be able to continue to do it, whatever you want to call it, is if it works, it works.
Yeah.
Subscription, sponsorship, discount, direct sales, whatever the stupid term is at the time, it doesn't really matter. It's going to come down to, is the product good? Because if you do
Yeah.
really it doesn't work, your subscription service don't matter.
Yeah, but
you can have great videos on how to set up a turd, but it's still a turd. You know what I mean?
yeah. Don't worry, it's going to be good. Over 10 years of experience here, so I've made all the mistakes.
So, hey, everyone, don't worry, it's going to be good.
His last car was good. The last car was good, so I mean, it's the starting point.
Yeah.
It's not like
Listen. It sounds like you're running the same model as before, but with some big backing and less responsibilities, so you can concentrate on your skill set. I think it sounds interesting.
Better model. So I think that the difference here is that the people who become members are the people who are actually active in the hobby and sort of, quote unquote, have earned or deserve a higher level of support. Do you see what I mean? Like,
no, but how would they?
It's a sort of give and take. You have to buy into it. You have to be committed. You know, it's not the same as just anyone being able to get a sponsorship. It's a different dynamic. So I don't know.
Anyway, don't worry about selling the plan to those not interested, because you're not going to anyways. So focus power on what you're doing and do it. Would be my motivational speech for the evening.
Yeah. It's going to be good. I'll tell you.
Jeff just announced a subscription for XXX main.
If you send me $5 a month, I'll send you a camouflage paint mask every month for fucking ever. You'll never be able to cancel.
You'll never. Yeah. Well,
so
I have that model.
What was I going to say? I can't remember.
Hey, here's a question. Why are you off Facebook?
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on with JQ because he's on Facebook. When you told me what was going on, I didn't even know.
Okay,
that.
So Keenan thinks it's him, but he doesn't understand. So I think that I've had people tell me I should quit Facebook for 10 years. Or
so?
They've been saying like, hey, you need to shut the hell up. Like all Americans think you hate America. Okay? Like this. True. Yeah, well, 98%. Just go read the comments.
The ones that
come off as the person that cares.
Yeah, but people, I'll be honest. So JQ Racing has suffered financially because of things I post and how I post them. But I always say JQ Racing wouldn't exist if I didn't post the things I do and
there's
the way I am.
There's a happy medium, let's say. But
yeah, you should have thought about the line on that one a little better.
I agree with much of what you say, but I'm thinking I would never write that under my company name. But right.
What?
I agree with much. Listen, I'm a nut job atheist liberal. But not everyone who buys my products agree with me, so I would be less vocal. But
I'm not saying that I nailed the execution on that, right? But I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that the way that my friends and associates and whatever have tried to make me be is the kind of person who this company would have failed some time ago, because we had all kinds of problems, right? But people stuck with it and people paid attention, and JQ Racing got a lot of exposure, and it got that exposure because people cared. They loved it. They hated it. They talked about it, right?
You gotta love or hate it.
And passion and racing go hand in hand.
Yes.
So
now,
fine.
I'm sure I could have done a better job and less, and more people would have loved it and less people would have hated it. Like, I'm not arguing that. But what I'm arguing is that dynamic is important. And I forgot the question. What was it? Oh, why I left. So
why the fuck aren't you on Facebook now?
So I didn't leave because someone asked me to, or Keenan asked me to, or told me, or whatever. Like, that's not why.
I hope that's
irrelevant.
That'd be sad.
See, look, I got you to quit Facebook. Just admit it. No, that's not why. The real reason is that I got really tired of it. And the reason I got tired of it is that I am someone that loves a good debate or argument, but I don't have a lot of patience for pure ignorance.
You
I
should
don't
quit the
need.
internet.
Yeah,
You gotta
I
get off
don't
the internet
need.
then.
I don't need people to agree with me. I don't hate people that disagree with me. I have good friends that I disagree with on a lot of things, but what I really don't like is just pure ignorance, and the real fake news, not the stuff that people say is fake news because they don't agree with it. The actual fake news, right? And it started to become a big problem on social media platforms. The whole people getting outraged over fake stuff, which was manufactured to get people to be outraged, right? So that was one thing. Then the moment I actually quit was right after who was that guy that was out jogging and got shot? Ahmed Arbery.
The guy that went into
What
the
was
house.
his name? No, yeah, the building
I don't
site or
remember.
whatever. That thing happened, and then the George Floyd thing happened, and then I just quit. Like after that, because there's so much negativity and so much shit in the world, right? And then people, like, the level of discourse around these things, it's just like, it just got to me where I'm like, people, like, this level of stupidity is not something that I want to waste my time with anymore. So I quit, like, you can have disagreements, you can have different opinions, but there's sort of a level for everything where you have to agree on reality, and when you don't agree on reality, you can't talk to each other,
Well,
and sort of all of this came together that summer or whenever, spring or whatever it was, and then I was just like, I'm out. This is too much.
Well, what you needed to do was create see, the thing is that you created your brand through you, so therefore you couldn't have.
It's hard to separate at that point.
Yes, you can't have disagreements with someone and not affect your company, which you should have just started your own JQ debate thread, and then.
I mean, yes, it was. I never spoke about anything political as JQ Racing. It was always myself. But
you can't separate.
I'm so strongly linked to the brand because
anyone who's following JQ is also following Joseph. So.
Yeah. So it just became too tied together, But I didn't really care, I think it's a big problem actually in the world that people think about their business first and their morals second. It's a big problem, and I'm 100%
you have to find a happy medium, I suppose.
Yes, you do.
Anytime I see a business with a political sign like "vote for this guy," I'm thinking, "What a fucking idiot! Why would you eliminate 50% or at least displease 50% of your consumers?" I'm not speaking to you.
You're assuming that if they want the 50%, maybe they're just trying to get 50% of the 50%.
Well, when I drive by an auto shop where you do brakes for a living and you have a pro-conservative or pro-liberal agenda that you're advertising, then I feel you're alienating a percentage of the people. So, I mean, in JQ's situation, I think it was probably more benefit than detriment. But I think in general, I think I've tried my hardest to separate my brand from my personal views. I'm sure I'd piss off a lot of my customers if they knew some of the things that I support or don't support. But anyway, this is. I
think. Yeah, it's a fine line. I think that it's important to. It's also important not to be a part of the problem by being by just going with the flow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Don't let them kick the hooker to death so you can sell an extra JQ car. I agree. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that.
Everyone draws their line differently, and I think I draw it quite a bit differently than many people.
Yes, you do.
But it's just not something that I think I will ever really compromise on.
No, again, I think it's been more benefit than detriment to you personally. In I think
in the beginning.
garnered. Well, the strong following that can be garnered eliminates whatever negative you get from the odd troll or the few trolls.
I think in the past years I've improved my delivery a bit. Like I still have the same very same ideas, but my delivery is
different wording.
Hey, delivery is the key. I mean, you got to figure out how to try to make it tolerable, or people aren't going to listen.
Yeah, because if you really think about it, the things that I've said for the last 10 years are not very controversial, to be honest.
Well, no, you are very controversial to someone who is not holding your position. I hold, again, many of the same positions that you do, but no, you are very controversial.
Well, I mean,
it's unfortunate that you are controversial.
Yeah, unfortunately,
but you are. Let's word it that way.
Yeah, I just refuse to think that it should be controversial to be sort of for equality and against.
I agree with what you're saying. It shouldn't be controversial, and it's not.
It shouldn't be, but it is. Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately, it is, and that goes back to when I mentioned that when you look at anything, a system, a society, RC racing industry, whatever you look at, if you can identify the selfishness, then you are close to the source of the problem. And that's really what causes a lot of the issues in the world. So if you look at the kind of things that usually gets the biggest debates on my past Facebook that I used to have, it was stuff where I was speaking out against people who expressed a very selfish view. So when I say selfish, what goes hand in hand with that is stuff like greed, excessive sort of nationalism, and a view that your country is sort of somehow exceptional and better than the rest, and or your religion or your race or whatever, So selfishness in that regard, where you care about your tribe, your group, your whatever more, okay? And that you start to express opinions where not the sort of healthy selfishness, which is like, you care for your own family more than other random people, but the kind of stuff where you are putting someone else down because you want more for yourself or your whoever you care about. Do you see what I mean? Like that sort of thinking. I'm against that, so I speak against that. I hope to make people think about that a bit and realize that we are all on this planet together. We are all human. We have different religions, different skin colors. We live in different countries. We speak different languages. But at the end of the day, if we want to enjoy ourselves here for hundreds of years to come, we need to realize that.
Is that the timeline you're on?
Not me
more than a few hundred years.
Well, yeah, by the way things are looking, we're talking hundreds.
Yeah, give us not even a century.
We need to realize that we need to be less selfish. We need to care about the human race, not just our country or our skin-colored people or, our religion or whatever. That's really the core of the message that I put out there. And that's controversial to people, It's sad, really.
Sure.
So
you're
cheers
racist.
To that.
So for being anti-racist.
I'm racist.
For being anti-racist.
Very important point in
right.
this evening. Is this going to continue? Because I'm out of beer, and I will go get one if this continues.
I think
I can get another one.
I don't like to do this more than half an hour, but if we're going to continue, that's fine. But I need to know right now if this is going to.
I think we solved some of the world's problems just now.
Yeah.
And it's a nice place to wrap it up, and maybe we can talk about continuing some other discussion.
Well, we can keep JQ up later on another evening as well.
Yeah,
I do want to say to RC Master.
I'm actually hungry, so it's dinner time for me. So
hey, let me mention something because this poor guy has been. Master, I did set your buddy glue about a week and a half ago, so
holy shit.
Yeah, well, it took me a month, but it's out. It's in the mail. So
a month.
It took me a month to send it out, and now it's
those interested in supporting JQ can go to JQ Racing.
Where do you go?
Right? jqracing.com.
I guess. I mean, YouTube channel would probably be the best.
I put the link of
and invisiblespeed.net. That's the number one place. Best book in town. Just beat the Bible.
Well, come on now. Hey. Let's just say
beat the Bible and Triple X Main for the.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, buddy. I agree. Yeah, there you go. The two of them together is what you need.
Yeah. So
okay,
invisiblespeed.net.
I just posted on there. So support him. The new company will show us something when?
Coming weeks. Next month, I think, will be a big month.
I just tried Googling to see if anybody put any extra pictures that shouldn't have been released out, but I didn't find anything. So we'll post that and keep up to date with what's going on and armchair engineer your new car.
Yeah. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, you've dealt with it for years, so.
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
And thanks for staying up. And
yeah, that was awesome, man.
Hey, this is going to be that 10-year overnight success. A lot of people are going to hear about this suddenly. Yeah, it's going to be.
Nothing happens overnight. We still think our magazine is going to be successful too. So we're on the same page. We're going to get out of here. Joe, just stay after I hit end here. So. Cheers. We're empty. That's the remaining.
Yeah, way empty. Yeah, this is terrible news.